Hey BookTube, long time no see. I'm here to give you the wrap up or my wrap up for the a yearathon and the 7in7readathon that I participated in 2 weeks ago. Last week my friend was visiting from Malaysia, and so we were kind of attached at the hip for the week, and I didn't have enough time to sit down and film a wrap up video for that readathon. So I'm filming it now, better late than never. And so I'm gonna just go ahead and get into it. So the 7in7 readathon and the a yearathon happened 2 weeks ago, August 4th. Started on August 4th and ended at the end of that week. I don't know what that date was. And it was the 9th, I think. It ended on the 9th. And my goal for that week was to read 7 middle grade books in 7 days. So I would be fulfilling the yearathon requirements and the 7in7 readathon requirements. I did not quite reach my goal. I read 5 middle grade books and then I read 1.5 plays. So the books that I read, if you were Lily's Crossing, which if you saw my update video, you already know what I felt about it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It was good, but it wasn't great in my opinion. And then after that, I read The Watsons Go to Birmingham, 1963 by Christopher Paul Curtis. I loved this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I definitely plan on doing a review about it because there's definitely some things that were in this book that I think are extremely relevant to what's going on in our country right now. So I'm definitely going to be doing a review of this book. So that was the second book, and I was doing really good then. And then I started Still Away by Jennifer Armstrong, and me and this book did not get along very well. I found myself kind of struggling through it. It's not a bad read, but it's not like a really riveting read either. And I found myself kind of checking constantly to see where I was and sort of hoping that I could hurry up and finish it so I could start something new. And so I decided that I should just, since I was doing a readathon, that I should just give up on this one and start the next book on my list. So I actually didn't finish this book, and I don't really know if I'm going to. I'm not sure if it was the nature of the readathon that made me so bored with the book or if it was just the book itself, but I just found a lot of it a little bit cliche, to be quite honest. Like a lot of the situation and a lot of the characters felt it's just really familiar to me, and I just am not that interested really to see how everything turns out in the end. And there's a frame story in this book where it's basically the characters Susanna and Bethlehem. Bethlehem was a slave and Susanna was an orphan who got sent to Bethlehem's masters, who were her aunt and uncle, and the two of them decide to run away. And the frame story is basically Susanna and Bethlehem telling the story to their grandchildren. And I don't know, it just seemed kind of trite to me. Like I could see the message that they were kind of trying to send, and it just kind of felt a little, I don't know. It just wasn't that interesting, and it was kind of cliche, and I kind of saw where it was going, and I wasn't that interested. So I don't know. I might finish it. I could be wrong. Maybe if I keep going, it might actually get a lot better, but I don't know. So I didn't finish this book. I started it, I got halfway through it, and I decided to switch to something that I was more interested in. And so I read the first book in the Animorph series, The Invasion by K.A. Applegate. If you don't know about the Animorph series, this was a series that came out in the mid to late 90s, and it was about 5 kids who are given the power to morph into other animals by an alien in order to save humankind from an alien species called the Yerks, which is basically a parasite that crawls into people's ears and controls their brains. If you've read Stephanie Meyer's The Host, the aliens are pretty similar to those, except they were Yeah, they're pretty similar. It's just a parasite that controls the human mind, and it needs a body in order to survive. And so I read the first book in that series, The Invasion, and then I read The Visitor, which was the second book in the series, and then I read The Encounter, which was the third book in the series. I really enjoyed reading it. But I'm not quite sure if I can really give an accurate review of it because a whole lot of it was just nostalgia for me. I think I was just full of a whole bunch of like happy feelings because this was a series that I read as a child, and I think I was just having a lot of associating with a lot of childhood memories and things of that sort. So I don't really know if I can actually give a I don't even know what to say, unbiased review. Every review is biased, but I just don't feel like I could really say whether or not this is a good series or not. I think it's good for what it is. I mean, it's a middle grade science fiction series, so it's really kind of light on the science and a little simpler than I think you might expect it to be. I gave the first book 4 out of 5 stars. I gave the second book, The Visitor, 3 out of 5 stars. And then I gave The Encounter 4 out of 5 stars. If I had to recommend any of the 3 books, I would recommend The Encounter. It was really good because it explored the idea of what it means to be human. Like, what is it that makes a person a human being versus an animal? And I really, really liked that. And it explored that in a really kind of interesting way. And I thought that that was a good and kind of deep topic for the series. And I kind of really liked that. But those were the 5 middle grade books that I read. And then I finished The Encounter on Sunday night. It was around like 8 or 9 o'clock. And I knew that there was no way I was going to finish 2 more middle grade books before I went to bed that night. So I switched gears and I decided to read 2 classic plays that I should have read by now but hadn't read yet. And so I read The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams. This is my first time reading it. It's in a big drama anthology that I own, and I don't want to show that on camera because it's huge and it's actually not that interesting to look at anyways. But I loved it. I don't know if you know anything about the play. Basically, the play is about this family. There's a brother, a sister, and a mother, and they were abandoned by the father. He left them to travel the world, and the brother is stuck in this sort of dead-end factory job so that he can support the family, and he hates it. He's a creative writer and he would rather be writing and going on adventures. And I really identify with that character because I was recently in a similar situation, and so I really understood what he was going through with that. And the sister is crippled, and how big her infirmity is, it seems to actually be very subjective. It seems as if the family views it to be a lot greater than it is. And she's very emotionally fragile, and so she doesn't really have like the ability to really take care of herself. And so the mother is really, really concerned about what's going to happen to her in the future. And so they sort of put all their hopes in the idea of marrying her off. If they can get a gentleman caller to come and fall in love with her, then they can have someone who can provide for the family so that the brother can then go off and pursue his own dreams, and then the mother won't have to worry about what's going to happen to her daughter. And so that's kind of what the play is about, them trying to find a gentleman caller to help basically alleviate all of their problems. And it was beautiful, and I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It was just really great. If you've read any Tennessee Williams before, you'll see a lot of very familiar themes and tropes in the play, but I think it might be my favorite Tennessee Williams play. I really, really liked it. I thought it was really beautiful. So I read that, and then I made the mistake of, I don't know what I was thinking, around like 11 o'clock, I was like, I think I'm going to start my second play. That was a classic play that I hadn't read before, and I decided I would start Macbeth by William Shakespeare. I don't know what I was thinking. It was 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. it was not a smart decision. I read it, I started it. I made a really good show of it. I finished half of it before my brain finally said to itself, I am too tired to translate this for you. And I had to go to bed. And so I finished half of it before the end of the readathon, and I probably would have counted it in the readathon if I had to finish the other half the next day, but I didn't finish the whole play until yesterday. So, yeah. So that was great. I did love it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really did like it a lot. If you don't know the story of Macbeth, it's basically there's a king. He's told there's a no, he's a thane, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but he's a thane, and he is told by 3 witches that he will eventually be king. And so when the king comes to visit him at his home, he decides to speed up the process of becoming king and guarantee his kingship by killing the king, because that would automatically make him king, because he would be it's kind of complicated because he would then be like second in line to be king. So he kills the king um due to the prompting of his wife. She kind of eggs him on, and then he kind of just keeps killing more and more people in order to maintain his throne. And it's about this and him dealing with the guilt of doing it, and kind of what it meant to Scotland. It was really, really interesting. I'm giving like the worst summary of it. Like, that was just like, you shouldn't even probably pay attention to me. That was really bad, but I really did like it. And so, but I kind of can't count it during the readathon because I didn't finish it during that time. But yeah, so I did complete 6.5 works during the readathon. It was a fun experience, and I'm looking forward to doing my next one. I'm actually decided to participate in the Bout of Books readathon, and so I will be uploading a TBR of that later on today. You'll see me in the same attire because I'm going to film it probably right after I finish this. And so that's it. That was what I did during the readathon, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!